Yeah, so Joe Thomas was on Dan Patrick's show, and I remember we had this conversation that got a little heated last week, and it sounded like that he went to the defense of Deshaun Watson. You know, when Dan Patrick tried to get him to
the clip
to
I
do
heard,
what it
I
was.
wouldn't describe it as the defense of Deshaun Watson. I would just based on what that one clip that I heard. And that's the one you're talking about, right?
I wish we had that clip.
Yeah, it is.
You tweeted about it too.
What
I tweeted it.
he just what he said basically was nobody in Cleveland wants to talk about the off the field stuff anymore. It's in Cleveland, it's old news. People want to talk about what's happening on the field, and he's right. He's right.
Yeah.
Now, Deshaun Watson, I don't think, is really getting asked questions about it anymore at this point, is he? There are media members nationally that are still talking about it here and there, but I don't think Deshaun Watson's really being asked about it anymore.
Locally, he's not being asked about that question too
Yeah.
much. Like, I haven't heard any. Matter of fact, it was from the one guy who did it in the beginning. Was I don't think he was a local guy who put the initial quote out about being a narrative or something, right? Like, who was that guy? He was like
The person who put it out wasn't a local guy.
Right,
It was
yeah,
asked by a local reporter, but it wasn't about the allegations.
Right.
It was about him sharing his story. I think
Yeah,
Mary Kay.
he
actually-
Just kind of.
I think Mary Kay actually
Yeah.
asked the question, and then
Yeah.
he mentioned it in
Listen,
his answer.
It's
yeah.
been like, what can be said at this point?
yeah.
There's nothing left to be said. If there were new news, if there was another allegation, if there was something that came out that proved somebody was lying, okay, there'd be something worth talking about. At this point, there's nothing worth talking about off the field. There's no news.
And Chris Collinsworth was saying in the Hall of Fame game, people were reaching out and saying, like, he's like, so what are we gonna say about this? Like, we definitely have to talk about, the elephant in the room before we can even talk about him on the field. And people were confused as hell because they were like, Deshaun Watson played in one preseason game when the allegations were going on. You could have been talking about it. Mm-hmm. There was a whole season last year where he didn't play, where you could have prefaced it and talked about it. And then he came back and played for 6 games, in which you could have.
Yeah. No.
So it's like, I don't know why it just feels like. Isn't that out of you guys' system? It's like you're just overproducing it. And what I'm trying to do, what I did is I'm setting it up for the guys that watch the TV that are going to watch the Browns. They're going to talk about it. Like, it's not really over and done and buried. So what you got to do is just like expect it and watch the game and be like, oh, here they go again with that. But don't be surprised when they bring it up, because every telecast, they got a newscast of people in there. They're going to have to say, we have to say that he was accused of blah, blah, blah. Hopefully that wears down as you win games.
Yeah. I'm not so sure they're going to still bring it up during games, because
The first half of the season they will.
I don't know. I'm not as convinced as you guys are. It was talked about all last year. I just don't know. What is the point? Who are they trying to appease with that?
Who are they appealing to?
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching the game, anytime we talk about anything that's not sports, that somebody disagrees with. People say don't talk about politics, but people only say that if you're saying something that they disagree with. If I was saying something that they agreed with, they wouldn't care that I was talking
that
about
is
politics.
the coldest. That is the coldest thing you've ever said. Bull, you are exact correct. The people who say I don't want to hear about politics don't really care about it. It's political. They care about something. They care about saying you disagree with something I actually agree with,
right?
And I'm being made to feel bad about my choice to support that.
100%, and that's why people say that. And I think it's the same thing with Watson. I mean, it's like at this point, I don't think most football fans, even if they're not Browns fans, that are watching the Browns play the Bengals week 1, they don't care about that. You think Bengals fans watching that game really care at this point? They know they're going to take pot shots, just like Browns fans took pot shots when the Bengals had 5 guys that had been arrested.
Yep.
Just like Browns and Bengals fans took pot shots at Ben Roethlisberger. Just like Browns fans, Bengals fans, and Steeler fans took pot shots at Ray Lewis when he was involved in whatever the hell that happened there.
Facts.
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
But if I'm a Bengals fan and I'm watching them play the Browns, if I'm a Jets fan, I'm watching them play the Browns. If I'm a Giants fan, I know the story. Why do you bring it up at this point?
Because
I don't care.
The reason, and this is more fans, and I'll get back to the game, is it's low-hanging fruit. It's the easiest joke you can make, and people aren't original and they're not funny. And they
Joke?
Any
What do you mean? But play-by-play guys are kind of
no,
stiff.
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying this is the Twitter side, the fan side of it.
Oh, that's fine.
But when you make a joke about Ben Roethlisberger, Ray Lewis, or whatever, like it's the low-hanging fruit. It's the easy one to make, and for the most part, myself included, we're not that funny or creative when it comes to that. You want to make a joke?
I'm funny. I don't know about you.
Whatever. As far as like the broadcast goes, I think at least for the first couple of games it'll be brought up because it'll be tied into. Well, he only played 6 games last season because he was suspended because of that,
Certainly
and we need to see how. So for the first couple until he gets.
But I just think it's
a quarter of the way into the season.
I think it's going to be a one-time mention, and then that's it. And so what?
Yeah.
I
don't think it'll be harped throughout the broadcast.
Yeah.
But if someone wants to go into a game, if they say one thing about Deshaun Watson's off-field situation, I'm turning it off. You're not going to watch the first 5-6 games.
That's silly.
It's going to be mentioned, and then it'll eventually phase itself out.
It's not going to be a recurring topic on the broadcast.
Yeah, like it was last year. I think what Joe Thomas said, and I want to parrot this almost word for word because he said it best. Deshaun Watson is allowed to play in the NFL. He is no longer suspended.
He served his time.
He did what,
That's what
he was
said.
suspended. He served his time. He's back in the field, and he is playing football for the Browns in 2023. You can feel however you want to feel about whatever you want to feel.
You have every right to.
Every right to.
Yeah.
But he's playing. Let's enjoy watching him play.
It was more of a defense of the Browns. He made one other thing he said towards the end of that was there were a lot of other teams that wanted Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
And it was crickets. It was like,
if you are a good football player and you can help a team win, they will overlook
everything.
Literally everything.
Everything.
Yes.
The better you are, the more they'll overlook. What happened with
Perrion Winfrey? If that was Aaron Donald, he's still a member of the Rams.
Of course, Patrick Mahomes could do almost anything, and they wouldn't cut him.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
I just the elephant in the room is that when somebody said this, that once you become a media member or a writer for so long, you start to feel like you're the story. That you start to understand, I do have some sway. I do have some power. I could write what I want to write. I could do, and there's no recourse for that because I have a platform, a very large one, to say what I need to say or give my opinion. But after a while, when you're in the game for so long, I never want to be this way. Like these guys used to be on SportsCenter, hit between him and Rich Eisen and Keith Olbermann and a lot of those dudes. Kenny Mayne. I used to look up to a lot of those guys because I thought they was pioneers in what they did. But as you get older and older and older, it's just almost like they got this get off my lawn mentality where it's just like, I mean, this guy's horrible. This guy's trash. I don't want to watch him. And for me, it shows just how out of touch with society you are. Because after you get somewhere so long and you make a certain amount of money, you're insulated from seeing other viewpoints. You just isolated. You got enough money that I can live where I want, where I could just be around the same people. I don't have to go where people are that I don't want to see. I can use the internet and my television to watch the programming that's speaking definitely to me. So what happens is when you stop expanding your horizons and learning and being more inclusive, you turn into a person that is very narrow-minded when you're speaking to a very wide group of people. And I think Joe Thomas did a really good job in this piece by just saying, look, he could play. He served his time. Browns fans is trying to win just like everybody else is. Other people wanted this guy. The Browns are happy to get him. Hey, let's talk about some ball.
And that's it. And I think that, listen, if Rich Eisen wants to have a conversation about Deshaun Watson off the field, I mean, that's his business. It's his show. He can do whatever he wants. Like if I'm being interviewed about the Browns, I would assume that the person's going to ask me at some point about Deshaun Watson. And my answer at this point, and I've talked about it a ton. Everybody knows we just talked about it last week. But at this point, I'd say it's all. What else is left to be said?
Nothing.
There's
The answer is nothing
left to be said. Everybody's in their camps.
Posted.
Which happens with everything.
Eating dinner.
And nobody's changing their mind on anything. I mean, as you say, in politics, we get information all the time, facts all the time. Nobody changes their mind. Doesn't matter.
It don't matter.
You ignore everything's made up. We've decided, one side's decided everything's made up. So that's it. So when nobody ever changes their mind anymore. I try to. Some people do. I think we do on this show. But most people are so close-minded about everything. And that's it. So I have honestly feel like I have nothing left to say.
Nothing.
Unless there is new news, I have nothing left to say about Deshaun Watson off the field. We've talked about it a million times. I want to see him play football. That's honestly all I care about right now.
That's it.
Yeah.
So for me, I agree like with Bull. I think fans are going to fan. They're fanatics, right?
Yeah.
Fans are going to do what fans do. They're going to say whatever they're going to say. I think locally is not a thing. Nationally is a thing. And I know I personally can't control no narratives, but you've seen it with Ray Lewis and you've seen it with Big Ben. You know, a lot of people with a lot of negative things to say, and then these guys get past that certain adversity in their personal life. They move forward to have successful careers, and these same men that was dogging them, all of a sudden they want to praise them. Personally, I just want you to keep the same energy. Like a Bull G McNuggets, I am so serious. When and if this man step out here and he start balling out of control, the Browns are winning games and he's ranked in the top 7 or 8 of every passing category. I want people like Dan Patrick and Rich Eisen to keep the same energy.
But see, I disagree with that, Earl, because it's two different things: his play on the field and off the field.
But they're already biased, though. They already feel some type of way about it.
So what you don't want, if Deshaun Watson plays great, you don't want Dan Patrick to say he's playing great?
I don't want him to say nothing good about him. You ain't got nothing good to say about him.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
I don't think one has to do with the other.
I think it does. Because if you got that energy now, what should him playing good? Why should your energy change? If you feel this way about him now, him playing successful or being successful on the football field, like keep the same energy. You don't.
But
you
it's-
clearly
But
don't
you
like
can
this
separate the art from the artist. Like I like Kanye music,
but they're not
Kanye
trying
West
to do
music,
that.
but I don't like.
You can't separate the art from the art. They ain't nobody been trying to separate the art from the artist all this time. People acting like those 6 games define who Deshaun Watson is. They was not trying to separate the art from the artist last year. So don't try to do it now. Keep the same energy you got.
I just don't agree with that philosophy.
Well, here's the way. I'm gonna ask you a question,
Yeah.
and see if you vibe with it. I'm wholeheartedly being who I am and understanding the way the game works in this country. Deshaun Watson could be the best player in the league. He's not gonna win a champ. He's not gonna win an MVP.
Probably not.
Yeah,
And so,
Yeah.
that's fair.
So watch this. So if Earl is saying you can't
Yeah.
separate the artist from the art for the artist, well, that just proves they can't, because even when his
Well-
play on the field is of an MVP caliber, what is stopping
Well,
them
it
from
would
voting
only
for him?
it would only prove it if we're actually right. We
Right.
don't know for sure that we're
Right.
right. We're all assuming he wouldn't win the MVP, and if that happened, if he was clearly the MVP and didn't win it, then we could say okay. And we've seen that with other votes.
Yeah.
We've seen that with Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
There's a variety of reasons that some voters forget nothing. He didn't do anything wrong, but there were some people that were like, "Well, we can't vote for LeBron MVP every year, so let's vote for somebody else."
Yeah,
And without even a controversial reason.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of reasons why people say or do the wrong thing in terms of voting or whatever. I just think, for me, I don't care. I'm not paying attention to Dan Patrick. I don't watch his show. I don't watch Rich Eisen. I don't watch any of that stuff. If Rich Eisen or Dan Patrick say, "I don't like Deshaun Watson, I think he's whatever," okay. And if you think that's wrong or you're pissed off that he said that, you or whoever has every right to be pissed off. You disagree with him, okay, that's fine. But then if Deshaun Watson's playing great, and Dan Patrick goes, "Man, I tell you, I'm not a big Watson fan, but I got to give him credit. He's playing great." I mean, why would I have a problem with that? I don't know.
I do believe to what you say. I believe that if you are presented with new information,
Right.
everybody should have a out card to say, "I've received new information, and I could have space and time to change my mind." I think everybody should have that a little bit. For me, when you talk about the national media, I've always had this sort of theory. I've always said that the Cleveland Browns really are America's team. And you're like, why are you talking about that? They talk about the Cowboys. You guys come from other states, right? Texas and New York. Really big union states.
Well, no, he's from New Jersey originally.
But that's another big hub, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, when you talk about the Cleveland Browns, right, have you ever seen a team who is traditionally not good, has not won a Super Bowl, get this much attention?
Cowboys.
Cowboys got 3 championships.
Well, not.
Yeah, but I think that's because of Watson. Otherwise, the Browns wouldn't be getting any attention.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
When Baker was here, they got all the attention.
It was a polarizing storyline, and the Browns had made the playoffs for the first time in forever.
Odell Beckham Jr. polarizing, right? Like they had for the last 7 years, for the team that has not done anything,
but
they are on national TV
from
all the time.
And then Johnny Manziel before
Johnny
that.
Manziel before that.
But yeah, the Browns have had a lot of national stories, mostly bad. But there's been a lot of national storyline. I don't look at any team as America's team. I always thought that was stupid to say about the Cowboys. I don't look at any team as America's team. I just saw some poll or something where the Bengals were listed as the third or fourth most popular team in the NFL, and I'm like, 5 years ago they were probably the 28th most popular team in the league. They get Joe Burrow, now they're third or fourth. I mean, it changes.
Well, Joe Burrow, I think is, if you ask who's the most likable quarterback in the league, it's Joe Burrow.
More than Mahomes?
No, it's definitely Mahomes.
Bro, look.
It's definitely Patrick Mahomes.
It's definitely Mahomes.
People like Mahomes. I'm not saying Mahomes ain't there, but man, people love Joe Burrow.
Girls love Joe Burrow.
They love Joe Burrow. Like, it ain't like, I have not heard one person say one bad thing about Joe Burrow.
Yeah. I'll say something bad about Joe Burrow right now. He takes baths instead of showers.
He does?
Takes what?
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of.
I'm about to say that's.
I don't know what you said.
He takes baths instead of showers.
Oh,
and that's nasty.
He puts Mahomes puts ketchup on his steak.
That's inappropriate.
I agree. That's like a giant.
Burrow is an Ohio kid though, so there's a bias there for me if I'm being honest. So our man JP, he likes to always remind me, well, he wasn't born here, but he was pretty much raised in Ohio. So like, like Joe Burrow.
I didn't know he wasn't born in Ohio. He was born in Iowa, right?
Yeah, he was born in Iowa.
Yeah, but didn't he spend almost his whole life?
Tell Peterlin that.
I mean, Steph Curry's from Akron.
Well, he was just born in Akron. I don't think.
Well, if we're going to use the same JP's logic that Burrow was born in Iowa, he's an Iowan kid, then we should claim Steph Curry.
All right, that's fair.
I just seen the chat. They said the Midwest kids get love. That's Midwest swing. I definitely understand that.
Burrow is very likable.
Yeah,
but so is Mahomes.
Yeah, and Josh Allen's likable too.
I don't find Josh Allen as likable as those two guys.
You know,
I don't know what it
is.
This
is so. For the Browns and the Bengals to have an inner city or interstate rivalry with all of the past and Paul Brown and all the vitriol, Joe Burrow is so likable that to some people, the Bengals are not a venomous rival. It's like when the Browns and Bengals play, say, oh, Browns and Bengals is playing. Oh, man, this is going to be a good game. See what's going to happen. It's never been like Joe Burrow came and it was just like, I could watch the Bengals play with no vitriol, and it's supposed to be a rivalry. But when it comes to the Ravens and them Steelers, I want them to lose every game. Like you said, I want them to lose every single game.
Yeah.
And I don't feel the same way about the Bengals. I just feel like, oh, they got some good players over there. We're going to have to play well, or you know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's because of Joe Burrow and his personality. It's just like, you can't be mad at it. It's just like, you can't.
Yeah. So like, I know this happens, right? And maybe my perspective is a little tough as far as, keeping that same energy. But I feel like at some point, man, you got to pick a side and you have to stay there. I've seen this with my own two eyes, and I won't name names, but I know people who will get comfortable on TV or on radio and they'll talk down about him, totally disrespectful. And then they'll be at training camp with cameras and cheeses and all smiling in his face and waving and this, that, and the third. And maybe it's just me personally, maybe it's the emotional side of me, but that's fake behavior. If you really don't like this man, if you really got a preconceived bias about this man, then keep it. Like, I know, G, you said when you presented with new information, you have the right to change your mind, and you do. But balling out on the football field, to me, it's not new information.
Right, but it's what I'm saying, Earl, is it's two different conversations. You don't, like, I have mixed feelings about Deshaun Watson, the person, right? Mm-hmm. We've talked about this. But I don't have any mixed feelings about him as a player. I think he's a great player. I think he's going to get back to being a great player this year, and I want him to do well. That doesn't mean I don't have to like every player the same. I don't really know the guys to like them in that way, but, like, if somebody said, like, if my son asked me to wear the Deshaun Watson jersey, I don't know what I would want to do. I don't know that he would ask me that, But I don't know. But if he wanted me, if he said, well, "Can I wear the Nick Chubb jersey?" Yeah, I wouldn't even think for 2 seconds.
What would be the conflict, boy?
I mean, the conflict seems pretty obvious. No.
No, I'm asking you seriously. What would be the conflict? What's the conflict between him wanting a Deshaun Watson jersey and a Nick Chubb jersey if they're both balling out on the field? What's the conflict?
Because one has been accused of a lot of ugly things off the field, and one hasn't.
But accusations don't make you guilty.
This is true. And I don't want to go down this whole road again because we've adjudicated this a million times already.
What I'm saying is it's a choice, right? That's the great thing about you. We talk about United States all the time. The great thing about it is you got a choice, right? Yeah. Everybody has a choice whether they go rock and roll with it or they're going to turn their back on it. I'll give you an example, Earl. Today I was on Twitter. Somebody sent me something. And they sent me a video of an interaction between Deshaun Watson and Roger Goodell. And
when they were hugging?
Yeah. They hugged. So when they're hugging and dapping people up and laughing, see, what happens is on our level, we don't understand the political nature of the game, and we don't understand that this whole industry is fake. Everything here, this is not real life. This is what we but I understand that it's harder for some people to separate that. I have a very difficult time, like Earl, separating the industry from the real stuff. When you see Goodell interacting with Deshaun Watson, what you see is two millionaires operating as millionaires.
That's right.
At the end of the day, he still got his money. At the end of the day, Roger Goodell still got, and Roger Goodell understands, hey, I'm trying to keep you in the fold, dog. We trying to keep you in the fold. Hey, I want you to be good. I want you to be great. Because if you great, that means the Cleveland Browns fan base is excited about it. They're all mercenaries at the end of the day. Yeah. It's billionaires and millionaires. So that's why, and even Deshaun Watson, hey, no problem with that. Because guess what? I'm still rich.
That's right. And Earl, to your point, like you said, well, you pick these sides and that's it. I think that's the problem in this country, is we do too much of picking sides and we never step out of those sides to listen to the other side. And I don't think we should condemn people for maybe changing their mind. Now, if you're changing your mind just because he's playing well, I get it, that's a different story. But your job as a sports talk show host is to give your opinions. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't think highly of Deshaun Watson, then as long as you're fair about it, or at least you think you're being fair about it, you may think somebody's not being fair, then it's a difference of opinion. But then talking about the player on the field is a different story. I don't think we can expect Dan Patrick to say, if Deshaun Watson goes 35 for 40 for 422 yards and 4 touchdowns, to say, he really had a crappy game. I don't care about this.
No, I think this is a healthy conversation. So we all grew up different. We all have different perspectives on things. When I was a kid growing up, my favorite football player was Brett Favre, right? And the football player Brett Favre, major fan of him.
Yeah.
But there was things that, you would hear about him off the football field that probably wouldn't be appeasing. And my parents just always raised me that athletes are entertainers. They're there for your entertainment. Yeah. These men that you do not know from a can of paint are nothing more than just entertainers for you. They're not your role models. They're not somebody to look up for. And I've had that mentality since I was 8 or 9 years old.
So what are you saying? So it's wrong if I say I think Brett Favre is a scumbag?
Whatever. All I'm saying is it's when we talk about separating the art from the artist, and me and you've had conversations when I say, well, it's hard for me to say I don't like somebody because I don't know you. Deshaun Watson is a talented football player. Yep. And he's there for my enjoyment of entertainment, and that's it. That's all. And I think people, and maybe you're right. Maybe I'm not being unfair with not giving people the option to change their mind. But I just think that when people try to draw a line in the sand, or when it comes to somebody over a situation that we got very little information about, I think you're not being fair and showing empathy. And that's one of the things, just as human beings, that we're supposed to do. Not be quick to judge. Be just show some empathy. And it seems like that's a lot of things that people's been doing.
Earl, and if you're that way, that's fine. But most of us, you hear information and you judge. It's kind of natural. It may be unfair. Part of our job of what we do in this business is giving opinions. And sometimes, And most of the time, honestly, even when it comes to sports stuff, we're giving opinions without having every single fact, right? We're criticizing a coach. We're criticizing a player. We don't have all the facts in those situations. We may have more than we have in the Watson situation. And you could say, well, it's unfair to be critical of Watson because we don't have all the facts. Well, if you're, on the other hand, is it unfair to be critical of the women that have accused him? In the same vein, right? Some people are shitting on them too. Is that fair?
No, I don't think it's fair at all. I think for me, like I've always just, tried to stay out of it because I got some opinions that is probably would make people uncomfortable if I addressed them. You read your email. All I'm saying is I've seen this in real life. I've seen stuff like this in real life.
Absolutely. I get it. But part of our job is giving opinions on things. So we can't just sit here and I don't think, it's tricky. And that's why I said with my son in the Watson jersey, I didn't say no chance I would let him have the jersey. I said I really have to think about it. I know he's not going to ask me for a Watson jersey because he loves Joe Burrow. And he's got his Joe Burrow jersey.
But it's like G, real quick, G, but, G is not a big Jed Wills fan.
No.
He's made it very clear.
Yeah.
If Jed Wills comes out and is the number 4 ranked PFF tackle this season,
You know what I'm going to say.
he's going to have to change his opinion and give kudos.
I'm adapting. Listen, I do blogs for a living. Anthony Walker, I say, Anthony Walker's garbage. Anthony Walker got on that joint and hit me up and said, okay, we're going to see smiley faces.
Right.
But then guess what? I had to look around when free agency came around and they ain't had nobody else. I said, you know what? We might want to go ahead and get back Anthony Walker. I'm sorry, dog. Come on back, bro. Come on back, do your thing.
And if Jedrick Wills came in studio with us, I don't think G has to shit on him in studio.
No.
I think it would be right to say, hey, I've been really critical of your play.
You did that with Greg Newsome.
I did that with Greg Newsome. Absolutely. I don't, sometimes you get caught up in the moment. Yeah, we're talking, and maybe you go a little further than you want. And because we're so comfortable in our situation.
But also, we are also entertainers.
That's right.
Like a lot of people, what we do is pseudo journalism,
There's no journalism.
There's none.
There's none.
Yeah.
So we give an opinion. We give an opinion about somebody. We're entertainers, right? Just like they're entertainers. And so when we look at it, and my recourse when I don't like something is I go to my blog. I go right. I get on right. I got a platform. I get on there. I create a video just like that. Just like they got a platform and they create what they want to do. At the end of the day, the greatest thing about sports and why I love sports is because I say it all the time. It does not matter what your religion is, your race, your color, how much money you got, where you came from. When you get on those white lines, you have all the opportunity in the world to change everybody's opinion.
Yeah.
Because what stands the test of time is what happens on that field. We are just guests. We are tertiary. We're people that look around and we're onlookers, right? And we are guests in this game of professional sports. But what happens on the field, that's the iconic stuff. And Deshaun Watson has an opportunity to prove me wrong or right, Bull wrong or right, or Dan Patrick wrong or right.
Earl, I got a question for you. Do you think LeBron James is a clutch basketball player?
Is he a clutch basketball player?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
As clutch as Donovan Mitchell?
Wait, hey, no. This is serious. This is serious.
Go ahead, sorry.
So I'm asking this again so we get it in one clip. Do you
All
think
right.
LeBron James is a clutch basketball player?
I think LeBron James is clutch.
Did you think he was a clutch basketball player after the 2011 finals when they didn't beat Dallas?
Yeah.
You still thought he was clutch after his
Yeah,
lackluster
he just had a bad
performance?
finals. I seen LeBron James over a long period of time to know he was clutch.
I didn't.
One bad finals wasn't going to change my mind about that.
He hadn't won a championship.
So
at that point.
this is exactly my point. So you were steadfast that he was clutch beforehand.
Yeah.
I'm actually in Bulls camp. I was not sure he was a legitimate MJ Kobe level closer.
Right.
And he's proven to be.
Yeah.
But after that finals, I was like, I'm not so sure if he has that immense clutch gene. And now he's developed either he had it and now I just was more tuned to it. But Earl, you answered that not the way I expected, so that was not what I wanted.
No, but
Got him.
but the reality is that if you polled every sports fan, then how do you think LeBron is clutch? And now the number now would be a lot higher than it would be then.
Yeah.
Even if Earl disagrees, he'd be in the smaller percentage then. Now it's hard to deny that LeBron is clutch. At the time, you could. That was a major choke job that they lost that series.
And by the way, for us, this is riveting. This is to me, this is the most interesting. I've ever been in a Brown season in my life. And a lot of people come up to me and tell me, because of these storylines, what we just talked about for 30 minutes here is not only are some people have mixed feelings in the national media or local media, but there's people in the fan base that have mixed feelings about whether Deshaun Watson is worth it or what is he going to look like.
100%.
And so when you get that and it's on display, they also have mixed feelings about Kevin Stefanski. Some people have mixed feelings about Myles Garrett and how he plays.
The list goes, like, as you're saying that, we're going to get an answer, and there's a chance to change your opinion on, is Kevin Stefanski a good coach? Is Deshaun Watson in that elite category, or is he falling off? Is Nick Chubb worth $16 million? Is Elijah Moore the second coming of Jerry Rice?
Now you're pushing.
Is Jed
Those questions are for every team.
But
I'm just saying. Yeah, but I'm just, and that's obviously a joke because his preseason hype.
But is Myles Garrett a Hall of Famer?
Is Myles Garrett a Hall of Famer?
That's a big question, because if Myles Garrett does not win Defensive Player of the Year this year, I don't know that he ever will.
This is his best chance by far.
Yeah.
But there are so many questions that, whatever your opinion is today on August, what's today, the 11th, the 10th, if your opinion does not change on all these things, or it's not a shot at you, I'm just saying in general, for anyone, if your opinion doesn't change on a lot of these things from August 10th to the end of the season, that means we haven't learned anything. It means the Browns are probably 8-9 or 9-8. We're all disappointed.
I totally agree. I've never seen the stakes so high, but at the same time can go either way. Like, because if Stefanski does well, now you have to say, oh, he's getting a contract extension. And he would be the first coach. I don't count Hugh Jackson's extensions. That was corny.
Yeah.
Like that was all smoke and mirrors. He'd be the first coach since 1999 to go on to a second contract.
I think I said this a few months ago. I feel like Stefanski's either gone after this year or he's here a decade plus.
There it is.
I feel like there's no in between.
And one good year can make everybody so much money. You look at the Johnny Doc real quick. Kevin Sumlin got a $4 million raise off of one good year. Cliff Kingsbury, who was never a good head coach, got head coaching jobs at a Power 5 program and the NFL off one good Johnny football season.
And he still looked like he don't care. I'm like, dang, Cliff.
Cliff Kingsbury?
Yeah, he was just sitting there like.
By the way, if he were black, he would never have gotten it.
That's
never.
Fair. Yeah,
that's why Eric Bieniemy coaching them hard as hell in Washington. He's watching Cliff Kingsbury in that penthouse like, damn it, how the hell did this guy get a job?
Like Cliff Kingsbury is like the Johnny Manziel of coaches.
He was, by the way. Because he was just basically being like, Johnny to come to practice.
Kingsborough could be Rico Suave in the hood.
What's that?
yeah.
I couldn't hear that. What was that?
I said Cliff
Kingsbury,
he can pass for Rico Suave in the hood, man. He just he got this swag to him. He looked like he just got this persona. The ladies love him. The fellas want to be around him.
And it looked like he moving bricks of cocaine allegedly.
He does look like he's moving. He looked like
he looked like he's just. They drop kilos off to him, and he has a system just like
the Kingsbury mob family, the whole night.
Oh my goodness.